NASA hopes to put Discovery in space today.
Bob Kane's at CNN Center with some news on the chances for a launch. Bob, good morning.
Good morning, Deborah Stewart. The woodpecker-delayed mission of the Space Shuttle Discovery is finally scheduled to begin this morning. The Discovery to lift off its launch pad in about 3.5 hours. The primary mission of this shuttle will be to release a tracking and data relay satellite called TDRS for short. The satellite will replace one destroyed in the explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1986. CNN will bring you the Discovery launch live. It's scheduled for 9:41 a.m. Eastern Time.
Edition of World News Asia, the U.S. Space Shuttle Discovery prepares for yet another mission. The scheduled launch is just a few hours away.
Go ahead.
For the U.S. Space Shuttle Discovery, set to take off in a few hours' time. Discovery will carry a $330 million communication satellite, replacing the one destroyed when the Challenger shuttle exploded nearly 10 years ago. Discovery's crew will release the satellite 6 hours after liftoff. The rest of the 8-day mission will be spent tending to pregnant rats and conducting other experiments. CNN International plans live coverage of the Discovery launch. It's scheduled for 13:41 GMT.
Well, we interrupt our programming to bring you live coverage of the launch of the U.S. Space Shuttle Discovery. Discovery is going to be carrying a $330 million communications satellite, replacing the one destroyed when the Challenger shuttle exploded nearly 10 years ago, killing all 7 astronauts on board. The Discovery's crew will release the satellite 6 hours after liftoff. It'll join 5 others to relay messages between ground and orbiting shuttles and other spacecraft. The rest of the 8-day mission will be spent tending to pregnant rats and conducting other experiments. We're now joining CNN's John Holloman, who's giving us details on the lead-up to this launch.
STE understands, and we're ready to go. I copy launch director in today.
Little blip there at the last minute. They're doing a poll now of all the various managers of the launch team to make sure that everybody says it's okay to pick up the countdown again.
Let's go ahead and pick up the count. I'm on my mark. 2, 1, mark.
Okay, here we go. 30 seconds to lift off. We'll again listen.
And we've had the handoff to Discovery's onboard computers.
20.
Sound suppression water system activated. 13 seconds.
On the left of your screen there.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Main engine ignition. 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery to complete NASA's constellation of tracking stations in the sky.
Houston now controlling the flight of Discovery.
Roger, roll, Discovery.
Discovery completes the roll to place the shuttle in a heads-down, wings-level position for the 8.5-minute ride to orbit. 27 seconds into the flight, Discovery's 3 liquid fuel main engines now throttling back in a 3-step fashion to 67% of rated performance to lessen the stress on the shuttle's aero surfaces as it passes through the sound barrier. Seconds into the flight, the main engine's now beginning to rev up once again to 104% of rated performance, including the new Block 1 engine. All 3 main engines performing normally, as are the 3 power-producing fuel cells and Discovery's 3 hydraulic power units.
Discovery Houston, go at throttle up. Go at throttle up.
Discovery now 63,000 feet in altitude, 8 miles downrange. All systems continue to function normally in the early stage of the 4th shuttle flight of the year.
A lot of interesting visual effects in this launch. We're waiting now to see the 2 solid rocket boosters split off from the side of the shuttle. Those are dangerous, the most dangerous part of this shuttle as it leaves the Earth. There they go. As they are falling away, they are still traveling at hundreds and hundreds of miles an hour, and you'll see them burn out probably
Booster
in a minute.
officer confirms solid rocket booster separation.
Discovery Houston, performance nominal.
Copy, nominal performance.
That call from spacecraft communicator Kurt Brown to Commander Tom Hendricks aboard Discovery indicating that the solid rocket boosters performed as expected in the first stage of this 8.5-minute ride to orbit.
Few clouds there around the Florida launch pad, but those are way out of the way. The shuttle is now 15 miles away from the launch pad, so clouds in that area, not a problem. That's a tracking camera now looking.
Discovery 226,000 feet in altitude, 52 miles downrange.
52 miles away. Boy, does that sucker travel
almost
fast.
6,300 feet per second.
Let me tell you a little bit about the crew for the mission as we watch it go on downrange. There are 2 women and 3 men on board. This is the smallest crew for a while in
Commander
the shuttle
Tom Hendricks
program.
and pilot Kevin Kriegel at
Mission specialist Nancy Curry and Mary Ellen Weber are seated downstairs in the shuttle middeck area, while upstairs on the flight deck, Commander Tom Hendricks, pilot Kevin Kriegel, and mission specialist Don Thomas are in position up in the driver's area. Kriegel and Weber have never been in space before, so this is probably the most exciting series of moments in their lives. We're going to replay the last few seconds of the launch for you, and maybe we can talk a little bit about some of the things that we're seeing as the shuttle leaves the launch pad. Here's a replay of the launch from just a couple minutes back.
2, 1, and liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery to complete NASA's constellation of tracking stations in the sky.
Houston now controlling the flight of Discovery.
Roger, roll, Discovery.
Discovery completes the roll to place the shuttle in a heads-down, wings-level position for the 8.5-minute ride to orbit.
Think about this much, but as the shuttle goes up through the clouds, it passes through a lot of humidity, and humidity effects sometimes make clouds form. It looked, as Leon was pointing out to me while we were all listening to this, that it appeared there were some clouds at the top of the solid rocket boosters at one point as the shuttle. There you can see the beginning.
Right there.
It looks like some gas coming out. It's just, the fact is, the liquid fuel in that main fuel tank is so cold that it cools the top of the solid rockets as well and forms steam or clouds or, just humidity as the shuttle goes up through the clouds.
Let me ask you something
Voice of CNN's John Holloman over pictures replaying the liftoff of the U.S. Space Shuttle Discovery. That liftoff occurred just a few moments before that. You watched live coverage of it. This 4th shuttle flight of the year will carry a $330 million communication satellite, replacing the one destroyed when the Challenger shuttle exploded nearly 10 years ago, killing all 7 astronauts on board. Well, getting Discovery off the launch pad marks the shortest gap ever between U.S. human space flights, just 6 days since Atlantis touched down after its rendezvous with the Mir. Well, you're watching CNN's astronauts aboard the U.S. Space Shuttle Discovery.
5, main engine ignition, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery to complete NASA's constellation of tracking stations in the sky.
Just minutes ago, the previously delayed shuttle lifted off from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The mission had been delayed for 5 weeks after woodpeckers drilled dozens of holes in the insulating foam which protects the shuttle's fuel tank. It was the first time animals have caused a launch to be postponed. During the Discovery's 8-day mission, astronauts will release a communications satellite to replace the one destroyed in the Challenger disaster some 10 years ago. Meanwhile, the Galileo space probe has begun its journey towards the planet Jupiter. Late on Wednesday evening, the unmanned Galileo spacecraft released a probe that will explore Jupiter's atmosphere. The probe is expected to take nearly 5 months to reach its destination, and then only moments to disintegrate in the heat and the pressure of Jupiter's atmosphere, but not before it's expected to gather and relay information regarding the planet's makeup. That information could shed light on the origin of the solar system. Galileo began its mission 6 years ago. Coming up in
Shuttle Discovery took flight just hours ago after a 5-week delay caused by woodpeckers. The astronauts are wasting no time getting down to business. About 6 hours after takeoff, they began their main task, releasing a communications satellite. CNN's John Holloman reports on the mission.
Went off like clockwork.
3, 2, 1, and liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery.
The 5-person crew was up before dawn, preparing for the 8-day mission. The first test of the shuttle itself came in the first 8 minutes, as a brand new version of the main engine was blasted into space for the first time. Ground-based engineers say the engine seemed to work perfectly, but they won't know for sure until it can be examined in the lab after the shuttle returns to Earth. The next job for the crew will be to launch a tracking and data relay satellite. That process will take several hours. These satellites provide the shuttle, the Hubble Space Telescope, and hundreds of other spaceships the ability to communicate with Earth. In addition to the satellite launch, the crew will conduct experiments and manufacturing projects using the near weightlessness of space to grow crystals for medical research and some products that might actually make life better for people on Earth.
Discovery approaching the 155,000.
John Holloman, CNN reporting.
You can't beat the view. That's the look you get if you're orbiting the Earth aboard the shuttle Discovery. The U.S. spaceship blasted off on Thursday on an 8-day mission. Keeping track of it is a new Mission Control Center in Houston, Texas. It's the first new U.S. ground control center in 30 years. Mission controllers now make use of more advanced computer technology. But at least until the end of the year, the old center still will be used for launches and landings, the most dangerous parts of spaceflight. Back in space, Discovery astronauts have already completed their main task, releasing a tracking satellite. It replaces one destroyed nearly 10 years ago when the shuttle Challenger exploded. You can't beat the view. That's the look you get if you're orbiting the Earth aboard the shuttle Discovery. The U.S. spaceship blasted off on Thursday on an 8-day mission. Keeping track of it is a new Mission Control Center in Houston, Texas. It's the first new U.S. ground control center in 30 years. Mission controllers now make use of more advanced computer technology and up-to-date furnishings. But at least until the end of the year, the old center will still be used for launches and landings, the most dangerous parts of spaceflight. Back in space, Discovery astronauts have already completed their main task, releasing a tracking satellite. It replaces one destroyed nearly 10 years ago when the shuttle Challenger exploded. Well, U.S. shuttle astronauts are sharing that view with a few space pedestrians. 2 Russian cosmonauts have been conducting repairs and inspections during a walk outside their Mir space station. Mir was left unmanned during the 5-hour space stroll. At least one crew member had remained aboard during all previous walks. Well, the 2 Russians just arrived at the space station on June the 29th after hitching a ride aboard the U.S. space shuttle Atlantis.
Well, you can't beat the view. That's the look you get if you're orbiting the Earth aboard the shuttle Discovery. The U.S. spaceship blasted off on Thursday on an 8-day mission. Keeping track of it is a new Mission Control Center in Houston, Texas. It's the first new U.S. ground control center in 30 years. Mission controllers now make use of more advanced computer technology. But at least until the end of the year, the old center still will be used for launches and landings, the most dangerous parts of spaceflight. Back in space, Discovery astronauts have already completed their main task, releasing a tracking satellite. It replaces one destroyed nearly 10 years ago when the shuttle Challenger exploded.
Astronauts aboard the U.S. Space Shuttle were roused with a special selection Sunday. The morning wake-up call was a patriotic song performed by school children, and one of the featured vocalists was the daughter of shuttle astronaut Nancy Curry.